Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and platform apunzile.com. In full words, Mlimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields: agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in. We just want to thank you for giving us this time to even give you this training. Thank you for even taking this time or opportunity to just come and have this second session of this training. Remember, we've got 6 of these trainings and we're right about on the second one. Today, we've got a lot in store for you. I wouldn't want to miss this. Please, if you don't mind, please just go on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, like our video, and if you don't mind, you may please just share this with anyone who you think may be interested to also have this information. This is wonderful information. I would want to share it with someone who is in need of such information. Right about now, I want to call out the trainer for today, Mr. Royd. May you please give us this wonderful training.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my name's Mukasa Royd, and it's an interesting moment again to meet this afternoon and discuss a lot more interesting facts that we need to share about aquaculture. So today's discussion, we are going to look at one important aspect when we look at fish farming. So in our journey to fish farming, we have some key components that have to be understood clearly for us to find fish farming interesting. So we are going to look at water quality management. So in the quest to understand water quality management, I am going to share a presentation that will follow along as we discuss point by point and then see how we are going to understand it. Okay. All right. So today's discussion, we are looking at water quality management. Now, water quality management is an important component of fish farming. As I indicated in the previous statement, and this being an important, where does this component belong? Under what umbrella does it belong? So when we look at water quality management, is part of the management strategy that a system or an individual who is engaged in fish farming sets. So when you set a management strategy, under that strategy, you are going to have what is called pond management. So pond management is a huge component that will encompass water quality management. So now, what is pond management in general? So for some people that did not attend the discussion for last week, my name is Mukasa Royd, and I work for Mukasa Fish Farm, and I am the managing director there at Mukasa Fish Farm, and actually that's where I'm doing the presentation from. So what does Mukasa Fish Farm do? So Mukasa Fish Farm, we are specialized in breeding tilapia and also catfish. So we are measuring in Andersoni or Oleochromis andersoni, the 3-spotted bream, and also the Mirong catfish. So we breed these fish and we sell to farmers across the country. And also we do grow them in ponds and in cages. So we are also specialized in extensions, offering extension services, consultations, consultant services, and also construction, and then also business development models. So we are engaged with a number of farmers across the country and outside Zambia. So that's our main work that we do. So what brings us to this table today is this component that we are looking at, pond management. So what is pond management? Now, when we look at pond management, we are trying to understand the concept of all the practices that one has to put in place. When you're looking at pond management, your main intention is to make sure that the environment where you're putting the fish is at its optimal, has the parameters balanced very well to support life. That is what we mean, because that water environment where you stock your fish to stay for 6
All right. Just please hold. The trainer is having some technical issues. We'll be back. As we are waiting for him, please like our Facebook page. We are at IMSICA Services Limited on Facebook, and we're also Mulimia Punzile on Facebook. And you can also like and share our video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We're IMSICA Services on YouTube. And please do visit our website at imsika.com and also mulimiapunzile or mulimiapunzile.com. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers, in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields: agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers, in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. Plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. Chemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the
Good afternoon once more. Sorry about what happened. We had a hiccup of Airtel network. The data connectivity was lost. So we have managed to reconnect. Yeah. So back to our discussion. Are you able to get me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Okay. So what we were saying is that for us to look at water quality, we have first to look at pond management as a broad component. Now, under that, we have to look at what is composed of this pond management. So if you want to manage your pond properly, to make sure that the environment where you put your fish is standard and it's going to support life properly, you have to always look at these components, where you have to make sure that you keep a close check over the feed that you put in your pond, and also you have to make sure you control the parameters of water. So these water parameters should also be kept under control. Then you need to make sure you check the microorganisms, and also you check these are they are either animals or plants, that they exist in two forms. So you need to check them and to make sure that they are in the acceptable limits. So apart from that, you have to make sure that you clear properly. You have a clear understanding of how you should maintain your pond environment. This now implies that you have to look at the outside environment from the pond, from the water itself. You look at outside, how should it be? And then you are going also to have a clear understanding on how you have to control the animals or the microorganisms that should be found in the water and around the water. What are these animals or microorganisms that are allowed to be in the vicinity of the pond? This is something that we have to understand if we want to look at managing our ponds properly. So now, that being the case, we have to look at a pond. For example, when you have a pond of this nature, and we have a number of ponds across the country that are built in this manner. So when you look at this pond, when you look at the animal welfare code, and also we look at the public health requirements, food that should be consumed by people should be of good standard and should be grown in an environment which is acceptable for life, and also that is going to give the food that is going to be within the required limits for consumption. And now when you look at the ponds, you have to make sure that your pond environment is very good in such a manner that even the fish that you grow there will not affect the end user, who is the consumer. Now, when you look at this pond, it has been built, and we have a number of these ponds across the country. Now, when you look at it, from some angle, it may look like it's okay, but in some angles, again, it's not okay. And then you find that it's not uniform. And the pond which has not been built in a uniform way we will not have the perfect requirement for accommodating fish, and even the water quality in that environment won't be that good. You find that some other areas is very deep, some other areas is shallow. Then you find that the deep areas, there will be just decomposition. There will be almost no life happening there. So a pond should be built nicely, uniformly, and then you have to make sure that as you are building your pond, it is a structure or an embankment or a depression or an establishment that is going to accommodate the fish and provide life for these fish. And sometimes we have seen these ponds around the country. You find that most of our friends that do such ponds, they are in the Dumbo area. They will dig, and then the ponds will have an uniform kind of shape, and also it will just have water which has too much of suspended matter, which are harmful to the fish, and then they will not give the fish a good time to stay in this kind of environment. So you need to make sure that you avoid having this kind of environment. If you have to put fish in this kind of environment, you need to wait until the sediments settle down and the water becomes clear, so that you do not choke the fish once you stock them there. In this kind of environment, once you put your fish, they will die, because the fish use the gills for breathing, and they receive oxygen through the gills. The water will be passing on the surface of the gills, on the filaments, and then they'll be trapping the oxygen there. But this water is quite thick with too much of the suspended matter. So it makes it a very hard time. And the suspended matter, they make a thin layer on the surface of the gills, and the fish ends up having almost zero access to the oxygen that is in the water. Now, when you look at that one, we come to this one. This one, you find that even you, as an individual, you even wish to swim in this water because it's tempting. So you need to make sure that the water where you are putting your fish is of good quality, looks just clear, and it just looks even from from a distance, you can see, okay, oh, this water is okay. Even when yourself, when you are told to step in that water, you not have any reservations, because you have seen to say, okay, here it looks to be safe. But in the previous picture, you'll be very hesitant to just get into that water. Now, what do we want to look at when we are talking about this water that should be in the pond that will accommodate life? So what we are trying to look at here, we are trying to look at the parameters that should be checked closely as you keep your fish in that pond environment. So some of the parameters that should be checked properly is oxygen, which is a very critical component for digestion, also for muscle activity. This oxygen is very important for our operation of the heart, the body parts, and this just the normal life of the fish. The oxygen is very important. This same oxygen is a raw material for metabolism. The breakdown of the food that the fish eats is a raw material. Without oxygen, there will be no metabolism that will take place. So what do we want this oxygen to do in the water? We want it to facilitate most of this breakdown, because what happens is that a fish grows for the rest of its lifetime in the water, and the growth depends on the food it eats. If it has not eaten for a day, there's no growth. So you record zero growth. 2 days, zero growth. The other day, they a lot of weight. So when the oxygen is not there, the fish becomes stressed, it cannot eat. Its major concern is to find a way of surviving. So we need to make sure that we maintain our levels of oxygen between 3 milligrams per liter to somewhere 15 milligrams per liter. If you can have an average of 8 milligrams per liter, it's going to be a very good concentration of oxygen. Now, this oxygen in the water, it is measured using an apparatus or an instrument called the oxygen guard or the oxygen measuring equipment. So we will see it as we go down. Then we also have carbon dioxide. This is a component of the water, which is kind of an excreted or discharged gas. So this oxygen is not useful for the fish. It is a waste product. So the fish releases this gas, and also some other organisms in the water release this same gas. Also the process of decomposition, some feces that the fish defecate, and also the feed that is not eaten, there is this kind of gas after it has been broken down by bacteria. Then we also have ammonia. Ammonia is a toxic gas. So this ammonia again is corrosive. It burns the skin of the fish. It chokes them. So you find that it is irritating. And the fish, once they are exposed in an environment where there is ammonia, they will not be stable, and they will just be trying to survive, and they will forget about eating. The pH or the potential hydrogen. This pH is also a very important component. So in acidic environment, the fish will not do very well. We'll find that the fish will struggle, and then they'll concentrate so much on survival than on looking for food, because nobody eats once you are in an environment which is not suitable for you. First, you have to secure your survival. Then we don't need to have chlorine in the water where we put our fish. Also, we need to control the phytoplankton levels. These are plants that we grow in the water, and then these are the green plants that make the water look green. So these guys, they are microscopic, and mostly we measure them using the search disk. So when you are trying to handle the issues of water quality, we have some systems that we put in place in our pond that will enable us to do this kind of activity in a very simpler manner. When you look at this is a standpipe. This is a pond or an effluent pipe, which is used to discharge water from inside there in that pond, coming out, and this is a drainage which takes the water into the sedimentation pond. So this pipe is flexible. It is able to rotate this side or this side, and then it sucks water from the bottom, and that water is discharged. So that water from the bottom is discharged together with waste matter, which are uneaten feed, feces, dust particles that fall in the water, the insects that die in the water, even some other organisms that just lose life in the water. Some of them are also phytoplankton that we just mentioned. So they go out through the same. Some ammonia, huge quantities of ammonia get out through the same. So most of these components of waste products, they are found at the bottom, because once they fall on top of the water, they become denser than water, and they go to settle at the bottom. So this is a tool that is used for measuring oxygen. So this, as you can see, it says dissolved oxygen monitor. So this one measures oxygen and temperature. So you have to measure oxygen and also temperature. Now, when you look at the temperature aspect, we have a range of temperature that is supposed to be promoted in the pond. We have at least the temperature ranging from somewhere 23 degrees Celsius to somewhere 33 degrees Celsius is okay. But with a very good growth of fish, will be supported by temperature within 28 degrees Celsius. So this time around, as we are talking, it's very hot here. I can feel it. Mostly when we do the measurements of the temperature, you find that it's somewhere around 25, 26. But now, this should be understood clearly. Some people, I remember some people, when we are talking, I would ask them the temperature in their area. They will tell you, say, no, here where I am in the vehicle. In fact, before they tell you that they're in the vehicle, they would argue. So temperature here is very hot actually. when I check the thermometer, it's about 30 degrees Celsius. So I'll tell them, say, you people, 30 degrees this time, when here also we are in the range of 22, you are 30. No, it's very hot here. I'm telling you the truth. So, okay, what are you using for measurement? No, actually, I'm just using the car thermometer. So now, what we are talking about when we mean temperature, we are trying to look at water temperature, not atmospheric temperature. So there are two different things here. So you need this gadget to do the temperature. Now, this reading you can see here, this is oxygen reading. So it's it's 7.4 milligrams per liter. So that is 7.4 milligrams per liter. That's the reading for oxygen. Now, sometimes you may have issues of temperature and oxygen, but you don't have this gadget. So what do you do? Because this gadget is expensive, you need about 5,000 to 10,000 to have one, depending on the quality of the same gadget that you get and the source. If you are getting from Europe, they are very expensive. So now, what do you need to do? You need to have a source of water, a source of fresh water. Now, that source of fresh water is the water that you'll be using to aerate your ponds. As you aerate your ponds, you are going to make the water start rotating or turning. As the water turns, it releases some of the harmful gases that are in the water, that have accumulated in the water. And also, it makes the water trap more atmospheric oxygen and dissolve it and make the water rich with oxygen that is needed for life survival or support for life in that water environment. So this is a pipe, you can splash it on top of the ponds. Mostly this is done early in the morning before you feed your fish. You aerate, you spread some fresh water there so that the fish can become active. And also you have to make sure that before you can close the day, you need to aerate a bit and see how best it can be done. So that the environment that you are living in the pond is conducive for the fish or to keep the fish throughout the night. Sometimes we have people that have the capacity to have access to huge machines that can be used for aeration. So this is a pedal wheel aerator. This is a pedal wheel aerator. So you can buy this. This is very efficient for people that have big ponds. You can buy it as a propeller or impellers that will be rotating, and they need to be splashing water everywhere. And it will create that motion in the water, which will improve aeration. Okay, so when you look at the temperature and oxygen readings, in the normal scenario, when you have the capacity, you need to have enough staff that should take the readings at least 3 times per day. In the morning, 6 to 7 hours. In the midday, maybe 11 to 12 hours, and in the afternoon, somewhere 16 to 17 hours. You take the readings and enter them, and you need to understand how to interpret the readings. At the end of the month, you are going to have the average, monthly average for temperature, monthly average for oxygen. Then these will be used during your management practices strategy setup, so that you can know your temperature in particular months, and then you'll be able to understand how the budgeting for feed will go, because the higher the temperature, the more the fish eats, and the higher the temperature, the lower the lower the oxygen. The lower the temperature, the higher the oxygen. So you need to understand those two things, so that you'll be able to plan properly. Like this time, most of the farmers are experiencing an increased response rate. The fish are eating too much now. So as a farmer, if you understand the profile, oxygen profile and temperature profile of your area, you are going to prepare properly for the food that will be needed by the fish during this time. So if for example, if it's people, you find that this time around, maybe if the appetite improves, the conditions are favorable, someone will move from 1 lamp to 2 lamps, 3 lamps, or maybe to a small cup of coffee to a bigger cup of coffee, depending on the drive. What are the factors that are surrounding that increased appetite? Okay, so that is what we are talking about. Now, when you look at this, we are trying to look at in all these activities, you are trying to look at maintaining the environment of the fish, the environment of the pond, the outside and inside. You are trying to make sure that you avoid disease inception. So now, for you to manage that, you need to make sure that as you are doing flushing out of water, putting in fresh water, checking the levels of ammonia, checking the levels of oxygen, phytoplankton, you are trying to make sure that the environment where the fish is living is in a clean one. So to say, we are trying to in a clean. We mean that these parameters, they are within the levels that will not harm the fish. So hygiene is one of the most important things that is promoted in the pond. Okay. So one other thing that we need to look at is at the farm where you are, you need to make sure you restrict the movement of people. People should not just be coming into your farm at whatever time they want at free will. No, there should be serious restrictions. Signage should be put nicely. And people at the beginning, they will try to fight you, to trouble you, but there's no two way about it. Your farm is not a community activity. It's not a community play field. No, it's a business area. So people should be restricted from patronizing your farm area. Then you need also, in case you receive some visitors, you need also to develop a foot bath or tire bath, so that even also hand wash points, so that all the visitors, they are disinfected upon entry into your farm, so that they do not transmit diseases or other complicated vectors to these diseases. Okay, so one other thing that we need to do, the challenge that we have as the startup farmers or as the small-scale farmers, mostly we don't have this capacity to describe the roles of each employee, and also give them contracts so that they can understand in their contracts forms what their roles are. So when we understand this, everyone will be stuck to their job and they will be busy. Everyone will carry out their responsibility at the right time, and we are going to have minimal challenges. So when you look at in the same manner, the feed that you actually put in the pond is actually a component of the product that provides more fertilization of some microscopic plants in the water, which are phytoplanktons. So sometimes phytoplanktons, they grow beyond normal levels. They are very good food. They are very rich in protein. Then they will contribute, if well managed, they will contribute about 70% crude protein. But now they have to be managed. If they are too much, they use up a lot of oxygen during the night, during the respiration process at night, and they will lower the availability of oxygen in the water. And this becomes a competition between the phytoplankton and the fish. But now when you look at the fish, they are weak competitors. So the phytoplankton wins, and then the fish will start, you find that they will run away from the bottom where there is too much competition. At the bottom, there's competition. The bacteria, they want oxygen. The fish also want oxygen there. The decomposition process needs oxygen. And also you find that the phytoplanktons, they need oxygen. So at the end of the day, the oxygen levels start increasing as you come up to the surface of the water. Now, I think if there's too much of this phytoplankton in the pond, you will discover that in the morning, you find a lot of fish on top with their mouth open. And we are calling that one to say they are gasping for oxygen. What they are just trying to do is that they are chasing the oxygen profile. They are coming from down, coming up. As they come up, they are trying to capture the oxygen that is trying to escape from the water on the surface of the water. They are trying to go up, then they jump, trying to capture it. But now, you can't go against nature. So they keep on struggling like that. Some of them, if it becomes too much, you find there's a lot of mortality that is recorded at the end of the day. So one thing that you have to do is to make sure that you are flushing out water periodically. If you say once in a week, make it a standard procedure. Say every Wednesday or every Friday, you flush out some water. Now, as you flush out some water, that water dislodges most of the nitrates, or which is fertilizer, which is providing food to most of these phytoplankton. It also gets rid of ammonia, and also gets rid of some water that is rich in carbon dioxide, because there's a lot of discharge of carbon dioxide at the bottom of the pond. So it discharges everything. and you remain with a very low
All right. Sorry for that. Network in Zambia. Yeah. Don't worry, he'll be back. Please, if you've got questions for the trainer, please just drop them down in the comments below. Those watching us on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, visit us on Facebook at Imsika Services and Mulimi Apunzile. If you want more trainings like this and more of such, please give us a like, comment down below if you're enjoying, tell us your experiences, and drop down your questions. We'll attend to them at the end of the session. Please stay.
And in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at Imsika is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Imsika. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at Imsika is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzire.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited
the challenge of being in the bush. I'm sorry, the network keeps on dropping on, off, on, off, on, off. But anyway, we'll see what we can do. Yeah. So what I was saying before the code dropped, I was saying you have to make sure you restrict the nature of organisms that should be found within the pond environment and also the surrounding environment of the pond. So this guy is one of the most dangerous creature that we need to avoid. So this is an otterback. So this guy likes eating a lot of fish. So it will start with the bigger fish. It likes big fish, and once it hammers a lot of big fish, and then it will go for the remaining ones. And you can see even on the head here, there's some bit of grass that has been stuck on the fur. So you find that this guy likes passing through bush environment to enter into the pond. So now, what do we need to do to make sure that this is avoided? Because we have a lot of farmers, they will stock 4,000 fish and they expect to get out 4,000 fish in the pond. And now when you look at the pond where this farmer wants to get out 4,000 fish after stocking 4,000, it's surrounded by a bush, shrubs, tall grass, and there are trees around. The trees are harboring a lot of birds. The bush is harboring a lot of these predators. So all of these guys, they are depending on the same fish they are, including the owner of the fish, the farmer, or the actual farmer is depending on the same fish. Even the workers also, they are depending on the same fish to siphon some fish to take to the girlfriend when they have a chance. So at the end of the day, the fish is at risk. There are a lot of interested parties. So you need to make sure that if you have the capacity, you need to fence your farm to make sure that you restrict the movement of illegal organisms or illegal individuals into your farming area. You also have to make sure that at the farm, you should have an individual or a person who is always there to move around, so that once this guy wants to come and attack, it will see someone and then it will run away. Now, in most cases, we have farmers that are doing weekend farming. They just go to the farm on Saturday. And sometimes when they are going back on Saturday, the worker also knocks off, comes back on Friday or Saturday. That's the way it happens. And maybe this farmer buys feed nicely. He has a very good record of this worker, but he doesn't know what has gotten into this worker this time around. So it's very tricky. You may find that you are losing a lot of money through feed, a lot of money through the fish that is being picked by this guy, picked by other thieves, picked by other predators. So we need to make sure that the pond environment is well cleaned and it's properly taken care of and also secured in terms of security. You need to remove this kind of organism by having maybe people with catapults or a gun. You just gun it down. I remember at Lake Tanganyika, we used to gun them down too much, these guys. And some people eat them, though they smell fish too much. Their meat is that kind of too much fish smell. Okay, so when we look at some of the organisms that are found in the water, as I mentioned, we said we have the bacteria in the water, phytoplankton, zooplanktons. Those zooplanktons, they are water animals. They are microscopic in nature, but they feed on the water plants, which are phytoplanktons. So we also have the parasites. They are also found in the water. then some of the macro organisms that we have in the water, in the pond area, and also within the water, we have some of them. The water monitor, they like hiding in the water. Then the water monitor likes when the fish are small, the fingerlings at fingering stage, and also juvenile. They eat a lot of them. They'll swallow, they open the mouth and swallow them. The small fish will not know what is happening. By the time they realize, they are gone. And also the biggest macroorganism that should be checked properly is a human being, because a human being does things in a well-calculated manner. So these guys, they will steal, and especially that you, the owner, trust these workers that you have, they will hammer you terribly. Some of them are frogs, which are carriers for these parasites, which are ringleaders in causing diseases. So we need to make sure we avoid these organisms from being found in an area where we are growing our fish. So sometimes we have to do grow our phytoplanktons to make sure that the water is green as natural food. Phytoplankton, they are natural food for fish, and the fish, they will feed on the phytoplankton once they come in the water environment. So what do we have to do here? We need to make sure that when we have finished the pond, it's done properly. Then we need to drain the water in that pond. Then when we drain the water in that pond to a level of at least 20 centimeters depth, then at that point, you have to make sure you make a decision on what type of manure you are going to use. So when you make a decision on what type of manure you are going to use, you need, for example, if you say you are going to use organic fertilizer, which is the droppings from the chicken or the pigs, you decide that you're going to use this. So you're going to look at a pond which is 10 by 10, will just require about okay, so if in organic fertilizer, this is the chemical fertilizers that we have. We are talking of about 220 grams per 10 by 10 meters by 10 meters pond. Now this fertilizer, when you understand it, it's when you look at the bag of fertilizer, there is what is the code for that fertilizer. So the code for fertilizers, you find there is NPK, the composition of those materials of nitrogen, phosphorus, and it should have
Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a class.
If you're using inorganic fertilizer, we are saying you just need to use about 220 grams per 100 square meter. Now, when you are using organic, you have to make sure if you have a pond of 20 by 30, you just need to use about 50 kg of the manure, put it in the bag. So if you are using chicken manure, you can easily spread them on top of the pond. You just spread like the way you do the feed. But if you have a pond which is lined, or a concrete pond, this will make the pond to be dirty, kind of. But if you have an earthen pond, you can spread it just like that. But don't do this for pig manure. Pig manure should not be spread direct like that on the surface of the water. Pig manure you need to put in the sack, and then you float the sack, you anchor the sack. So, for example, a 20 by 30, you can divide it into 2 portions, 25 by 25, 25 kg, 25 kg. You float the other bag on the other end and the other bag on the other end. Then it is going to work well. And then you keep observing the color change of the water. As the water is changing the color, you have to keep on adjusting the levels of water, so that as the water is changing color, the concentration of the phosphorus is becoming more, because the manure is dissolving, and then it's keeping on fertilizing more of the phytoplankton. So you need to keep on putting more water, so that you create more room for phytoplankton, because once the water is little, they will reach a stage where the communication will be given to say, okay, we have no space here, and the production will slow down. But once there is more room, the communication will be given to say, there's more room, can we reproduce more? Okay. So after the fertilization process is done, you have to make sure you mark the date when you started fertilizing, and then the manure will only become stable after 10 days from day one of fertilization. That's when the decomposition, the breakdown of everything that you have put in the water there will be done, and then it will become fit for fish to be put in that environment. Okay. So when you are looking at the algae that you are trying to grow in this water, to make sure that the fish, because when you are just stocking your fish, they like feeding on this natural food. So these are not they are water animals that exist naturally. Mostly these are either plants or just animals. So they exist naturally, and they do multiply very fast due to the same algal bloom. So when you're talking of these guys that are part of this kind of arrangement, we are talking of the zooplanktons that are found in the same, that are also boosted by the phytoplankton which is grown in the water. So the zooplankton, they multiply very fast, and when you look at this is what we're saying, to say they contain about 7% of the crude protein. Now, the parasites and bacteria, these guys, they are always embedded in the bedding material, the bedding waste material that set at the bottom. They will uneaten feed the feces and everything. So they hide there, and they start feeding on the waste material there and breaking it down. So they should be flushed out and maintain their concentration. So what we are simply saying is that where your pond is, you need to slash. There shouldn't be any grass nearby. At least some 5 to 10 meters away from the pond, they should be slashed tropical level, and you clear the tall trees that are around there, because these tall trees, they act as the perching ground for the beds, and then these beds, they are predators. They are timing the movement of the fish, and they will come and attack. Okay, so it becomes a challenge. You need to make sure that you create that environment. What is it? Okay, so looking at this point, we are also saying that one of the most important thing you, as a farmer, you have to make sure you maintain. You need to have a record for water quality. This record for water quality, you are going to have one for this one, which will be recording temperature, the other one which will be recording oxygen. So that when you open this record for oxygen, you are recording oxygen morning, midday, afternoon, morning, midday, afternoon. You are keeping on recording, and then at the end of the day, if you have a computer, you are well and good. You can just open an Excel spreadsheet. You enter those details. Then it will be doing the computation itself. At the end of the week, you can have the average temperatures. Then it will help you to know what changes you have to be making, because what happens is that fish farming, the fish do not have the stable response rate. So what happens is that you need to be following it closely, and you should have the chart that will guide you at this temperature from maybe 20 degrees to 35 degrees. At this temperature, what is the feeding rate? So now when you have seen that the temperature like this time now is stable at 25 degrees Celsius, you look at the feeding rate that you should look at. So you calculate your feed quantity based on that. So you can just enter the temperature there if you have a computer, or even if you don't have a computer, you can have a calculator, you punch, then you are going to have the figure coming out, and then you'll be able to have the quantity of food that you should give your fish during that week or during that period of the day or of the week. So it will help you. Temperature also will help you, because when you know that temperature is too high, for example, in oxygen solubility is affected when the temperature is very high. So you need to make sure you look into those areas and see how best you can set up most of these checkups. So these are some of the key points that we needed to discuss today. And now if you have some questions, we can have those questions through the facilitators, and then we may handle them today, because mostly we participants, we have our own expectations, and we have a lot of questions that we need to ask. So learning becomes more interactive when people are asking questions. Then we discuss those questions so that we can reach the point where we are going. So the facilitator, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Thank you for this wonderful training. If you're watching us from YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please just drop your questions in the chat and we'll attend to them right about now. We have a question from Clara. Apart from hand washing stations, is there a need for thoughts for shoe disinfection for thorough shoe disinfection?
Okay. So, Clara, what happens is that depending on your financial muscle, you have every establishment, you need to have worksuits or the PPE. You need to have gumboots, worksuits, maybe if depending on whatever the section those people are working from, you can have gloves, the hard hat, the goggles, whatever. So people actually, even your workers, should not go and work mostly with the clothes that they were patronizing within the community last night. They have to make sure when they reach this facility, they change, they put on the clothes or the clothing that is for the company, that is well kept in the company premises, to avoid contamination. But for people that are coming in, sometimes you may have a budgetary allocation to make sure that you have some gumboots that they can use when they reach the security check or the reception. There they have to be given attires that they should put on to make sure that they don't contaminate your environment. Gumboots, the lab coats, or anything that will just be cheaper for you to handle. And then those hand wash points can be there, of course, yes, and the foot bath, then you just have to do that. But if you don't have any of those capacities, the best thing is to restrict people. No, don't allow people to reach your facility. And sometimes people have the capacity where they do even a spray race. So they put up that spray race so that as a visitor is coming, passes through that spray race, then they are sprayed all over the board so that there is some bit of enhanced disinfection. It works very well, and it's a good thing. So because this spray race mostly it is some kind of fume, not really water, just like the way they were doing for COVID. The disinfection points, just like that. You just pass there, there's some fume of disinfectant that is sprayed on you, and then you enter the facility. Some of the places I've seen that working very well. In Egypt, they have a number of those facilities, and also I've seen in Kenya also, and Nigeria. Those guys, I think I've seen some farm where they have those things, and it works well.
All right, thank you for that answer, sir. We also have another one. Thank you, Philemon, for dropping a question. His question is, how do I get rid of frogs in my pond? He's observed that they are growing in number, and he's talking next week.
I've missed your point.
All right. We have Mr. Philemon. He's asked a question. How do I get rid of frogs in my pond? He's observed that they are growing in number, and he's talking next week.
Yeah, you know, the season, Mr. Philemon, we are going into it's almost also it's a breeding season for aquatic organisms. The more the temperature is coming up, these guys, the aquatic organisms, their libido becomes high. Also, they want to be having sex everywhere, and whenever they see water, it's more like one of the facilitators for their activities. So the key thing that you have to make sure you observe there, you maintain, is hygiene, pond environment hygiene. When your ponds are in a clean environment, the surrounding of the pond is very clean. You know, these predators, you know, and these other organisms like frogs, they are the ones you are mentioning. They are very clever. They study the environment. When a frog is coming from the bush, they will reach the boundary where you have ended clearing the land. Then they will look, say, what is happening? Is there anything that will distract me from reaching that area? So it will do a lot of necessary calculations. But if the distance between the pond and the bush is short, this frog will just jump 1, 2 is in the water, and it will start reproducing. It will release that a long chain of eggs, and it will be a problem to you. So one thing you have to make sure is hygiene. The second point is, if they have entered already, you need to find a scoop net. You just scoop them out of the pond. And, you know, these guys, of course, you know, it's against animal welfare to kill them without any permission from our friends who govern the welfare of these animals. But again, when you throw them, they come back. Throw them, they come back. So the best thing you do, just kill them, and maintain the environment to be clean, because once there are too much of them there, they are carriers for diseases, you know. So, and so at some point they become competitors for feed. They start eating a lot of feed, so it becomes a challenge. And then when there's no food there in the water again, they eat some small fish. When they are stocking the fish, if they are too small, they swallow them, they eat. The starvation makes them to even eat whatever they can find. So you need to make sure you scoop them out. If you see any of those strings of eggs, scoop them out. Just make sure you keep them away, and also keep the environment clean. Even if possible, you can weed around it to make sure it is clean. This is something that you can see even at your place. When there's grass growing towards the door, the frogs will always be entering, and the snakes will always be entering your house. But if the yard is well cleaned, there's some distance, maybe 5-10 meters away, cleaned nicely, it's looking neat, you will never find frogs troubling you. So the only thing that you have to work on there is pond hygiene. Make sure you maintain pond hygiene, and those problems will be at least reduced. When you come to our place here, you find that we make sure we clean the drainages and everywhere. That's the entry points where those guys will find way of entering. We clear them, and then they are reduced. Their presence is reduced, actually.
Thank you very much. Just a comment from Mr. Jeffrey. Mr. Jeffrey, this is session 2. I would encourage you to go back at services. You'll find session 1 and 2. This is a 3-part session. So as we go on, I think I'm certain that you will learn the hows of this business. Sir, I think those are the questions that
Okay. No,
another question
that is,
so far.
Okay. No, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. This has been Emmanuel Piri from High Quality Training Sessions live. You can watch us on YouTube. We live stream on Sundays on Facebook. And we also have courses available at apunzile.com. We would encourage you to stick around. This is only session 2 of 6. Tomorrow we're back at 14 hours for the third session out of 6. I wouldn't want to miss that one. On Friday, we also have another one with Amiran under irrigation. Please join us. We'll see you there. Any final remarks? Hello, Mr. Roy.
Yes,
Final
Alan?
remarks.
Oh, no. Okay. I would just like to thank everyone who took some moment to join us. And I just want to encourage everyone to be free to ask questions. And that's the best way we learn. You know, in this industry or aquaculture, there's no expert. So we just know portions of the truth. So this one may know the other portion, this one may know the other portion. So the more you ask the questions, the more those portions will get unveiled, and we'll be able to share how best we know those portions, and then we'll be able to have a clear understanding of what we have to get into. You know, I know there's a colleague of mine who once told me to say, it's a lifetime shame to pretend to know, and a moment's shame to ask a question. So some people, maybe they may be shy to say, if I ask this, maybe it's just it's funny, or people may think I don't know. Don't think like that. We need to ask so that the 22 of us, we are able to make some contributions that will reach us to and looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we have. I think we'll make this one the final question from Ms. Muyunda. What do I do if the water temperature is low?
Okay, if the water temperature is low, you know, water keeps the temperature stable. So when the water temperature is very low, the only thing you can do there is to make sure that you disturb water by putting in fresh water, so that the fresh water which is coming in, it's trapping some coming in, and trying to erase, turning around, it will trap some heat, and the temperature will be improved. And also flushing out that water which is stable will help to reduce the capacity of that water to maintain the temperature. So as you flush out, the water will have the ability to get in whatever temperature will be available from the inlet water or from the atmosphere. So the particle or the molecules of water there will be lost to and at some point, if you have the capacity, some people use in-house facilities. You can have the greenhouse, others have used heaters. So sometimes you can have your rearing facility under the greenhouse. Now in that situation, when the temperature is very low, you just close the doors. You just close the slits of the greenhouse so that there's no air entering there, to make sure that there's more temperature to facilitated to increase in that environment. So you just close the doors. Then the temperature will rise up. And then if that facility is not there, you are going to make sure that you can have a boiler or other heating facilities, then the water is passed through that heating equipment and it comes into the heating facility, then the temperature is improved that way. But that one is also a costly way. We tried it somewhere using a big boiler and the like, but it was costly. You know, you need charcoal or firewood, even sometimes coal, and it's not sustainable. So the best way is to use cheaper means of improving your water temperature.
Thank you very much, sir. Looks like people are now dropping comments. All right, we have another one from Justin. Good afternoon. Thank you for the educative presentation. I would like to find out the treatment and prevention of fungi that attacks the fingerlings in face and on fins.
Okay, this one will be handled tomorrow. We'll be looking at fish diseases tomorrow. Eh?
All right. Who remind you of this one, sir?
Please. Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Muhango, you can take note of that.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Shout out to Danny Chitalu from YouTube, where we are watching. We're paying attention to your comments. We thank you, and yes, we hope Network will have mercy upon us next time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you liked it, please give us a like, drop your thanks, and watch out. Tomorrow we have another training at 14 hours. Please stick around and enjoy the training. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com. A wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you.